So here, let's see how it plays out. We know last round that Galactica and Xandra had both submitted replacements for this challenge, and we see them there.
They're suffering for it.
Yikes.
Sure enough, yeah, they're losing availability on their polls. And it looks like they're still the only teams, though, that have figured out the POV, except we now have some new entrants into the Don't Understand You Shouldn't Patch Club, and Jima and Rubius are also patching it. So unfortunately, they're going to be hit with the same problem.
Oh, and look at this here, Crispy.
Oh, yeah, that's actually not true.
Crispy actually came up with a working POV as well, so they're scoring here against Mayhem and Mechafish.
And most importantly, they've not yet patched it. So they are the only ones, this is the first successful points we've seen earned through evaluation on this without being hit heavily by missing availability points.
So 82. Let's take a look at looking back over TPM. So we were talking about how this challenge was basically impossible to patch, but so many teams tried to. And I love this graphic here because you get a really clear sense here of how many teams were down and for how long.
And you got to give Crispy credit here as the only team in the competition that's live right now that made the right choice to not patch this system. So I know their overall score at this point isn't looking as good for them, but that particular functionality right there speaks of a level of testing or internal reasoning that I think we would have hoped to have seen out of some of the other competitors.
Yeah, and we see that they found the bug and we're throwing against it. We see here that their cubes are deep in that direction, so they did have evaluation. You know, Mayhem obviously still dead in the water, so they didn't patch, but they also didn't score.
Yep, so they're going to keep that sort of solid 50% of the possible points right up until they're POV'd, and then they get a quarter of the possible points that would have been available.
So Crispy is a team that we haven't talked about very much. Crispy, the CRS was written by Dissect. Dissect is a group of people, their roots are really in CTF.
So there are definitely two types of people that do these kinds of challenges. There's the people that do the official academic way, and they do theory. And there's the people that play the CTF, like us, that actually do it manually. We actually look at the binaries, we play the games. And for this approach, we needed both of those. And I think our team has a component for each one of those, and we put them together in a single system.
They came out of the University of Georgia, Athens, and they had the CTF team Dissect has been around for many years. Never like the top #1 kind of seeds in any of these sort of competitions, but a long history. And more importantly, they were a small team, and so I think they had a little bit of an advantage over some of the other folks in that they have been thinking about the problem for a while of how do we, with a small team, solve problems against kind of bigger teams. And so automation, exactly, that's part of the challenge. And so I think they were really looking forward to talking to them. They were really excited about the opportunity for CGC as a chance for them to dive into kind of what they had been thinking about for a while, but with the combination of their academic studies, as some of them as grad students, and as their CTF experience as well.
So this is round 93. 93 is actually the most scoring round of the entire game. So five different teams scoring against 3 different challenges. This is the most number of actual flag capturing that happens throughout all of CGC.
Right, so we're seeing a lot of POVs thrown, we're seeing a lot of success, and most importantly, we're not seeing any patching. So maybe they know that it's coming down.
The sixth sense, can a machine have a sixth sense?
I don't think, well, we haven't yet found out, but we'll see. Though we do still see a couple with, again, haven't got good reliability over here. So Galactica's got one that's got poor availability, and Jima's, again, got the unpatchable we saw in the earlier chart that they were never able to really get TPM figured out right until the end of it. The other interesting thing that happens is what's not visible, but we do know that Mayhem actually submits a POV this particular round.
So they're starting to recover from whatever condition they were in, maybe because the load has been decreased. There's not as many challenges. There's no challenges being added to the game.
Only being removed, exactly. And so we did see earlier on by looking through when they were doing sort of debugging and troubleshooting to make sure that it wasn't an infrastructure problem. They did see Mayhem submitting replacements, submitting POVs for challenges that were no longer being run. So that was definitely a clue that they
got
were
out of sync somehow.
Out of sync, kind of behind, stuck in some sort of older buffer. But now we have seen one submission for a service that is currently live, and so it'll go live around 94.